Congratulations, today is your day. You're off to great places, you're off and away. You have the brains in your head, you have the feet in your shoes, and you will decide what direction you choose. I've actually just quoted you the first page of probably what is one of the most powerful books ever written in the world. And that book, actually, the principles of this book has actually had a humongous change effect on my organisation, Camp Quality, and has literally taken it from a very pessimistic, dark organisation to an organisation that I'm going to describe to you over the course of the next 50 minutes. That book I'm referring to is called Oh, the Places You'll Go, and it's by Dr. Seuss. If you have not read this book, do yourself a favour. It is a brilliant book, not only for individuals, but for organisations. My staff carry this book around with them wherever they go. They have one in their bag, they often have a copy in their car, and we're encouraged at any stage when we have 5 minutes to pull it out and read it. I virtually know this book off by heart, I've read it so many times, but every time I read it I gain a new insight into wellness, flow, attitude and things of that nature. In true Camp Quality spirit, everything that we do, we always start by doing a fun game or saying a positive message or saying a joke. Whether it's an internal meeting or an external meeting, just like this, that's what we do, and today's going to be no exception. So I'm actually going to play a game with you all. And for this game to happen, I'm going to need to give you a number of instructions, so I need you to listen quite carefully. Being Camp Quality is a very safety conscious organisation, which I hope your organisations are as well. So in playing this game, I'm going to ask you in a little while to stand up. You're going to need to find a partner. Now, if there's an odd number, you can have a group of 3, that's okay. And you'll need to push your chairs in underneath your table. Please make sure there's no bags around on the floor that you might trip over. And then you'll need to find a bit of space. And I need you, so you'll find a partner, and I need you to stand facing your partner. Now, just before I ask you to stand up and do that, this game that we're going to play is actually going to create quite a bit of noise. And I will need to, at some times, rise above that noise to get your attention. And to do that, I'm going to have to probably blow on my whistle. So I apologise for any great noise I make, but I'll need to do that to get your attention back at me so I can give you the next instruction. So everyone, if you can stand up, push your chairs in and find a partner, that would be great. Okay. I want you very quickly to just have a good look at your partner, check them up and down. Now, listen up. I now need you to stand back to back, please. And I would like you to change, listen really carefully, I'd like you to change one thing about your appearance. Now I want you to turn around and identify that one thing that is changed within your partner. I now need you to change a further 4 things on top of that one thing. So that'll be a total of 5 things changed. The next 4 things that come into your mind, it honestly should take you less than 20 seconds. Now if you turn around and identify those further 4 things. So there are a total of 5 things changed about your appearance so far. Do not replace any of those. So listen really carefully. There are 5 things changed. I now need you to change a further 7 things on top of that, for a total of 12 things.
It's been as far as we're going.
Okay, turn around and identify those. Thank you, everyone. You can put everything back together and you can sit down. As you're actually just putting things back together and sitting down, yes, that was a fun game to play. But again, in everything that we do at Camp Quality, we actually look to learn from the experience of what we've just done. And I'd actually like to just share with you what I actually saw happen in this room just now. When I asked you to change one thing about yourselves, which was dead easy to do, the room was full of buoyancy, it was laughter, there was high energy in the room. Everyone thought, I can do this, this is really easy. And it was. When I asked you to then change a further 4 things, literally the mood in the room completely changed. It went from high energy to low energy in the space of like a second. I started to hear doubt. I heard people say, I don't have 4 more things. I'm not sure I can do this. People straight away started to choose a negative attitude without even giving it a go. When I then asked you to change a further 7 things for a total of 12 things, the mood dropped to its lowest that this room could possibly go. There was no banter, there was no talk. There was a few chuckles. I heard, this is ridiculous. I heard, I absolutely can't do this. I heard, I will be naked. And a guy at the back gave me a death stare. It's simply around the attitude that you choose to an adversity or a challenge that comes your way. And part of that game is a real analogy of camp quality. At the end of the day, we are dealing with children who are diagnosed with cancer. Their world is turned upside down. So whether that adversity is changing 1 thing, 4 things, or a total of 12 things, we don't want our kids and our families to give up. And that's where camp quality plays an important part in the journey of families who are battling cancer. Also, it gives you an insight into maybe how you and your teams may start to mentally think about adversity and challenges that come your way. It's simply around our attitude to thinking of things. Sorry, what's your name? Natalie. Natalie, if I said to you, in the not too distant future, you're going to get a new boss. I don't know if your boss is in here. Yes? Okay. This new boss you're going to get is going to be incredibly demanding, more so than your current one. This new boss won't care how hard you're working. They will want more. This new boss won't care what time they call you. They may call you at 2 a.m. in the morning. If you've only been back to sleep for 45 minutes, they may call you again. And when this new boss calls you, they will want your attention straight away. This new boss will actually have very limited social skills, not a great communicator. And probably occasionally when you're out with this boss on a social occasion or something, this new boss may even throw up on you. How do you feel about that? Bit concerning, and absolutely, and I wouldn't disagree with you. But literally every day, thousands and thousands of people sign up to a new boss, exactly as how I have described it when it looks like this. Literally the way you think about a situation that it's in front of you. If I was to say, sorry, lady in the blue? Susan. If I was to say to you, I've been watching the way you work and I think you are fantastic. I think you are highly talented. I love how you engage with your team. I love your communication style, your strategy. I think you are super, super smart, really good. I would love for you and I to talk about a partnership. Would you be interested in talking to me about that? Because I think the skills that you have and the skills that I have, the world is our oyster. Excellent. I think so too. But Susan, there's a little catch to this. For this partnership to really work, all the good ideas in this partnership have to be my ideas. All the things that go wrong in this partnership, you've got to take the fall for it. And all the things that you've worked really hard for, you've basically got to give them over to me. Are you still interested in talking to me?
I'm highly skilled at that.
Sorry?
I'm highly skilled at that.
Yeah. Excellent. And again, every day, thousands of people sign up exactly to a partnership as I've described when it looks like this. I want you to just take a moment. Let's just have a look at the smile on that guy's face. He has just signed up to say, for the rest of my life, I am wrong. And he is smiling about it. He couldn't be happier. So how is it that when we have probably two of the biggest challenges in our life, having a partnership or a relationship, having children, we go, bring it on. It's going to be fantastic. Change is going to be brilliant. I'm up for it. Yet if someone moves the photocopier at work from one side of the office to the other, people fall apart and collapse and go, it's too noisy, it's too far for me to walk, I can't do my job now. It's literally the way you decide to look at any challenge or change in your life. And you have the skills up here in your brain to decide that. But a lot of the times our brains are hardwired, and I'll talk about that a bit later, but are hardwired to be lazy and take the easy option. And in most cases for human beings, the easy option is to be negative and go down that path. Let me tell you a little bit about our organisation, Camp Quality. The organisation that we are today, as I said, is not always the organisation that we were. If I actually use the analogy, but before I do, I'll just say, look at these people, smiling, laughing here, and maybe she knows something about a relationship that the rest of us don't know. But if I tell you a little bit about our organisation, if I use the analogy of us going to the doctor, we're actually a very sick organisation. Things weren't going well for us at all. We had a great despair within our organisation. We highly promoted and marketed that kids get cancer and die, so give us your money. We had a very strong focus on death. We've got 13 offices around Australia, and if you walked into the reception area of any one of those offices, you would see what was called a wall of angels up in the reception area. So literally every child that died, their photo would go up on the wall in reception. So it would be fair to say that any child who was walking into any one of our offices with their mum would look at that and go, is that where I'm going to end up, on that wall? We had very depressed staff. We had a huge number of staff for the size that we had getting counselling. We had a huge turnover of volunteers. We need volunteers to do what we need to do. Without volunteers, we really don't exist. Yet volunteers would come to us, they would volunteer once and go, this is so damn depressing, I'm not coming back. Yet we would spend time recruiting, training, getting them to the program, and then starting the whole thing again, which was costing us money, which is ultimately affecting our bottom line. At the end of the day, even though we're not for profit, we're also not for loss. We are a business. Doesn't matter what our heart and soul is, we need to run efficiently and effectively to absolutely maximise the heart and soul of the organisation. We had a decline in donations, and in fact the organisation was $1.5 million in debt and had no way of paying it back and was about to close its doors. And the government was about to revoke our fundraising licence. So if you don't have a fundraising licence, you can't raise money, and therefore eventually you can't exist. So for us, things needed to change. We absolutely had to change because the path we were on was highly negative and leading us very quickly to a very slow and painful death. This will give you an idea of how we promoted ourselves. You can see very much that the sort of adult hand cupping a child in it. Our logo at the time was a hot air balloon with the Australian flag on it. The hot air balloon was to again signify the lifting of a child's spirit up to heaven. Again, reinforcing a negative connotation, that cancer is bad, that cancer is a death sentence. We would do things like this. When a child was in palliative care, so they had days or weeks to live, we would go there either to the hospital or to their home or to the palliative care centre that they were in, and we would take a photo exactly like this. And then we would wait for that child to pass away, and we would send that photo with this sympathy card. Again, reinforcing a highly negative image. We wouldn't send them a photo of their child looking happy and healthy. We would send them a photo of their child in their last days. Loss of hair, skin tone, body weight, often a living skeleton. I know for a fact that even though it's a sad reality that 35% of kids with cancer will die, that's the hard facts. But even in that, families want to celebrate life. They want to remember the good things about their child's life, whether that is 5 years, 7 years, 12 years or whatever. They don't want to remember images like this. So for us, as I said, we absolutely had to change, and treatment was urgently required. And the treatment for us was not necessarily about chemo and radio that our kids have, but for us we actually had to unpack the layers of our organisation, the cultural layers of our organisation. We had to really go deep and understand, what are we really going to stand for? What are we really going to believe, and what are the attitudes that we're going to bring to the organisation? And so from this we created what we call our cultural goals. The G stands for glue, O for organisational subcultures, A for attitude and alignment, L for learned behaviours, and S for symbols. And I'll go through each of those. The glue is really important. Each of your organisations will call it something different. You may call it a mission statement, a vision statement, a credo, an aspiration. We call it glue. And the glue is literally our defining statement. It allows every one of our staff to say yes or no. It empowers them to make decisions for things that come across their desk. And the first thing they do is they'll look at it in relation to our glue, and they'll say, if it fits with our glue, yep, we'll do it, and I'm empowered to go ahead and run with it. If it doesn't, I'm empowered to say no. And I can tell you we've had some really strong no's. We've had some organisations that have wanted to give us lots of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we've said no, because their glue does not match our glue. Their values and their beliefs do not match ours, and we will not take second step. We will not step backwards for anybody or any organisation. We will align only with people who have the same beliefs and values and attitudes that we have. This is our glue. Straight away from the first sentence, we made a really strong statement. We said, we're for life. And there's some very key words. Most of our staff and volunteers will know this virtually off by heart. If not, they know very much the key words about creating a better life. No matter where the child and the family is in the cancer journey, we will be there to create a better life. We will actually be there to make kids feel on top of the world. We're for positive thinking, an optimistic attitude. Resilience and self-esteem are highly important within our organisation. We're for getting kids out of bed and into life. We're for hope, we're for fun, we're for life. Every one of our staff and our volunteers, as I said, have the ability strictly on that glue to say, yes, I can do this, or no, I can't. And we will not move away from anything that is not in line with our glue. And that's really important. I've seen a lot of businesses in my time who literally have their mission statement up on a wall, but honestly don't live it, and don't live it to every nth degree of the organisation. They might only live it for 50%, and the other 50% couldn't care less. Or some of the workers do it and senior management don't live it to its full extent, or vice versa. You must drive your culture at every level of the organisation. The reason I say that is because literally your culture that you have, that you define, is the only significant competitive advantage that you have from anybody else in your field. Whether you're a banking institution or a car company or whatever the case may be, or a charity like us, we are one of 700,000 registered charities in Australia. Anyone can come along and do the programs that we do. Anyone can come along and run the services and the programs that you guys do. Some of them will probably come along and do it better. But what they can't copy and what they can't do is your DNA, is your culture. And you must drive this in everything that you do. And our driving of this culture literally has had a huge impact to the bottom line of our business. We put a lot of effort into what we call organisational subcultures. So we have our defining glue, the umbrella over the organisation, but we absolutely acknowledge that there are parts of the organisation that think and act very differently. So our finance and accounts guys think and act very differently from our marketing guys, who think and act differently from our human resources people, who again think and act differently from our program delivery people. And we absolutely embrace that. We celebrate it. We don't want everyone to be the same. We've identified what we call signature strengths. So we run every one of our staff through a course which identifies from a positive psychology perspective, your natural strengths that come to you. So in the world of positive psychology, there are universally agreed there are about 60 traits that make up a human being's existence. There's some of them on the board just there: social intelligence, creativity, etc. So social intelligence, to give you an idea, is someone who actually is very, very good at reading into situations. These are the sort of people who often know what is not being said rather than what is being said. They're really high skilled people to have within an organisation. Creative people speaks for itself. Industry and diligence is someone who's an I dot or a T crosser. They're quite anal, and every organisation needs those. So we go through and we identify the strengths of our people. And we actually go, we want you to focus on the top 5 strengths that you have. And we want you to embrace those top 5, because this is what comes naturally to you. It makes you feel good when you do it, and it also makes others feel good when you do it. And we actually are moving and are writing the top 5 strengths of for everyone into their job descriptions to ensure that they do them. They also have a task every day. They have a little list, and they need to try and tick off that they have used every one of those strengths every day. So when they walk out the door, they can say, I've used my top 5 strengths every day at Camp Quality. We also then combine those strengths in terms of the subcultures and look at how they can support each other within the organisation. So our marketing team would very much be aware of the strengths of the accounting team. And it has opened up huge communications within our organisation. It's opened up a huge flow, which has created a really efficient and effective and also a really innovative organisation. We've also created a thing called Your Space. This is a situation where any staff member can ask a question of myself. So twice a year we have a teleconference or a video conference, and the week before on our intranet people send messages through. And the questions can be about anything. It can be anything from our strategic plan, what are we doing with it and where are we up to, and what are our measurements, right through to a question of when am I going to get my laptop fixed. And we will answer that question. I will answer that question openly and transparently, and everyone will understand. The only 2 things we will not do: we will not talk about anything that might have some legal implications for the organisation, and we will not talk about people's salaries. They're the only 2 questions that are not on the table. Anything else is completely open. We get about, when we have these meetings, we get about a 98% attendance rate. Even the people who don't ask the questions. So I will, and it gives people great access to the CEO and opens the organisation up again. It breaks down barriers and levels within the organisation. We have celebrating life days. For us, this is really important. Celebrating life days, we actually operate on a 9-day fortnight. So you work every second week, you get a day off work. And it's called a celebrating life day. So on top of your 4 weeks annual leave, we give staff 26 extra days leave off a year. But there's a certain situation with it. One is you've got to do your job in 9 days, which everyone goes, I'm up for that. I'll do that 9 days to get a 10th day off. No dramas there. And people are still measured on it in terms of the metrics that we have with our budgets and programs and all of those sort of metrics. But then when we have a team meeting, within that team meeting, somebody has to give a little 2-minute talk on their celebrating life day, what they did. So in everything we have to be accountable for. So someone could say, oh, I went to the hairdressers and this is what I did in the conversation that I had with the hairdressers. Or I played golf or whatever. But someone within the group, we take turns, we'll talk about their celebrating life day. And again, it reinforces the importance of gratitude within the workplace. It empowers our people to talk positively and embrace positive actions. Fun in the workplace is really important for us. We have what we call, as I mentioned earlier on, fun therapy. So we will start every meeting with, as I said, a joke, a game or something. We also have, we rotate it around each of our departments. So every month a department must run a fun therapy activity. So one month it'll be the accounts, another month it'll be the program people. And a bell will go or a sound will make, and everyone has the permission to put pens down and walk away from their pod or where they are and come and join this activity. Even if we've got people visiting the organisation for meetings. I had the Chief Financial Officer of Westpac once, and I said to him, sorry, we're going to play fun therapy. And we went down and we played paper aeroplanes. We made paper aeroplanes and we flew them in the car park to see who could make it and fly it the furthest. But for 10, 15 minutes, we took time out to enjoy each other's company, create a fun environment to do it. Now, you might think, oh, this is fun, but everything, let me stress, everything that we do is based around science. None of this is just froth and bubble. And the research clearly shows that if you actually give people 5 or 10 minutes or 15 minutes out from their job to do something fun that increases their heart rate, increases the endorphins in their body, endorphins then help create red blood cells. Red blood cells are the good blood cells to have. They can help fight the common cold and things like that. The research shows that people go back to their desk and they are far more productive than if they'd stayed there at that time for those 5, 10 or 15 minutes. We know this works. We see it. Our people are so invigorated by it that they go back and they work better than if they had stayed there within their workstation. Attitude and alignment. This is a really, really important one for us. It's fair to say that not everyone is an optimistic person. Not everyone woke up this morning and went, woohoo, I'm going to SuperFriend today, it's going to be brilliant, can't wait. Some of you would have gone, ooh, I'm going, but I've got 500 emails to send and I've got to get a report out and maybe I can do it slightly under the desk and I can do it on my iPhone and hopefully no one will watch, and then I'll do some work when I'm having morning tea and I actually won't focus on anything else. Some of you would have gone, some people go, oh, I've missed my bus, I'm going to be late for work, I'm going to be late for my meeting. Not everyone is an optimistic person. We passionately believe that if you're a pessimistic person, we can teach you optimistic beliefs. And we actually run workshops for our people around that. And we shift people from pessimistic points of view to optimistic points of view. Let me really stress that it's not to say that we want everyone in our organisation to be a bunch of happy clappers. That's not what we're about. And I actually need within the organisation, we need at times, some forms of pessimism. Kim, who's my finance manager, I need her at times to be pessimistic. I don't need her to say to me, Simon, the numbers don't add up, but don't worry about it, somehow they'll all fall into place. I don't need her to be overly optimistic, but I need her to actually be able to say, Simon, there's a bit of a red flag coming. We're having a budget shortfall. Here are the areas. This is what we can do to streamline and things of that nature. So I'm not at all stressing and stating that you need to shift your organisation into everyone being so optimistic and jumping out of their skin every day. That's not what it's about. But it's absolutely about creating for your people the right attitude that they will bring at any point of time at work. And hopefully they will do this at home as well, because the skills that we're talking about are not just related to us at work, they're life skills. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute as well. We have what we call CVS to BVS meetings. CVS stands for current view of the situation, and BVS stands for better view of the situation. So if we ever have a challenge at work, any one of our staff members can call a BVS meeting. So we will put that challenge up on the intranet and say this is what it is, and we'll say we're going to have a teleconference or a video conference at 12 o'clock on Thursday, and people then sign in to come to the BVS meeting. When you come to a BVS meeting, you must come with 10 better views of the current situation. You can't come with 3 or 5, you must come with 10. We're giving people time to have a look at the situation, think about it, and then come with 10 better views. It doesn't matter how weird or wacky they are, because sometimes it's the weird and wacky idea that sparks another idea that actually ends up being the right idea or the right solution. This has been hugely important for us. We have actually been able to streamline systems and processes that have saved us money. We've actually created a completely new program that's now supporting about 2,500 kids with cancer around Australia that 18 months ago wasn't even on our radar, and it came out of a BVS meeting. The other great thing about a BVS is that you're taking the problem and the situation out of the area that it's coming from. So if I use the example of, say, our accounts people, if they've got a problem with, say, month end or something like that, it's actually opening it up to the organisation and using strengths of other people. So just because you're not in accounts doesn't mean you can't find a solution. And it's sometimes the people who think creatively or in another skill that actually go, oh, have you thought about this? Or have you thought about that? So we will get people, even though it's an account, might be an accounts issue, we will get people who from our program team or our human resources team will join the meeting, and they come with 10 better views of the situation. Sorry, what's your name? Simon. Excellent. Simon, I've got up there on the screen 9 numbers in 9 boxes. If I was to say to you, if I move the number 5 to where number 9 is, 9 to where 4 is, 4 to 8, etc., etc., 9 numbers in 9 boxes, how many possibilities have I got before I run out of numbers?
I'll leave that for statistician. No.
Have a guess. Just have a stab in the dark. 9 numbers, 9 boxes, moving them around. Thousands. Close. There are actually more than 662,000 possibilities of moving 9 numbers in 9 boxes. So the current view of the situation is 9 numbers, 9 boxes. The better view of the situation is that there are more than 662,000 possibilities. And one of those possibilities will be the right possibility for the situation that you're in. We have that image up in our walls at work, so it constantly reinforces to people that possibilities are beyond what you initially just think it is. Whether you think it's 50 or 1,000 or 5,000, there are always more possibilities. And it's creating the right mindset, visually creating the right mindset for our people. For all of our meetings that we have, internal meetings, we have standard items on the agenda that are non-negotiable. So absolutely, we have fun therapy. We start with meetings with a joke or a game or something like that. We always have a safety message within what we do, and a staff member must relate something back to the organisation about safety. And then we have what we call an aspiration. So we rotate it around our people. And so every meeting, it's a different person. And the aspiration is that that person will come and they'll give a 2-minute talk on what their aspiration is for the organisation in 2 or 5 years' time, where they want to see the organisation go. Sometimes people do little PowerPoint presentations. Sometimes people just talk off without any visuals. But the aspiration is around that person's image and visionary of where they see the organisation in 5 years' time. And those things are non-negotiable within all of our meetings that we have. Again, it reinforces a lot of positivity, forward thinking, that change can be good, that change is something that we look forward to. We have learned behaviours. This has been probably the single most effective thing that we've done. We've actually written a book called Oranges. And the book actually talks about the analogy of camp quality and the journey that we've gone on. But really the book is about a lady who goes to visit her doctor and says, I'm feeling flat and lethargic, and basically at work nothing's happening. They're working in silos and no one's talking to each other, and we're going backwards and things like that. And the doctor basically says, let me take you out the back and I'm going to prescribe you a dose of oranges. And the person says, oranges, what do you mean? That's a bit crazy. But every letter of oranges, and the doctor takes the patient out the back and into like a Willy Wonka factory, which is the factory of optimism. It packages up optimism and sends it out to the world. Every letter of oranges represents a workshop that we run for all of our people. So the workshops range from 1 hour to an hour and a half each. And there they are. So we run workshops on optimism. How do you move from pessimistic points of view to optimistic points of view? How do you create resilience within your life? How do you know that the next time someone says to you, change 4 things about yourself, you're going to go, I can do this. Even though it might be hard for some of you, you're going to go, I can do it and I can get through it. Attitude. How do you bring the right attitude to work so that when you walk in the door, you're switched on, ready to go, ready to give it your absolutely 100% that you can. The now is really important for us. Now is about mindfulness. So how do we ensure that our people are completely focused right here, right now? Again, not worrying about the 100 emails they've got to send or the report that they've got to write. How do we ensure that people, when they're talking on the phone, they're not also tapping away at their computer or sending an email to someone else? That they are giving their absolute 100% attention to what is at hand. We've found that when we do that, and by teaching our people, we make far less mistakes as an organisation than we had been before. Gratitude is really important within the workplace. Oodles and oodles of research around this, the importance of gratitude, the pride that people take, not only for themselves but for the department that they work in or for the organisation that they work for. So we have a number of tools that we've set up that reinforce gratitude in our work environments. E is for excitement, so we have workshops around how do you create fun in the workplace, which is really important. As I said before, the fun therapy activities create not only fun environments, but they are health-wise good for our people. And that in turn has a positive impact on our bottom line. And then the strengths is the signature strengths that I talked about before, where we identify their top 5 and actively get people to work on those every day at work. Also, we're able to communicate with each other and people are able to go, well, actually I've got a situation with my job here and I need someone who's got diligence. Why don't I go to Mary or Bill over there? Because they've got diligence as number 1 and they can help me. So it's created cross borders within our organisation, which has been fantastic. So the workshops that we run go for 2 half days. So all of our staff, all of our volunteers, all of our families go through this. And the benefits that we've had with the Oranges program, and it's really clear that people say to us, this is not just about camp quality. We've got people who do this at home. They do it with their kids. They do it as their soccer coach for their local team, and they're bringing in some of the stuff that we've got within our workshops around building resilience with their kids or choosing the right attitude for whatever it is that they're in. That just gives you a little rundown on one of the programs, the resilience there. All of them are based on real strong science that's come out of Harvard and Penn University, Oxford over in the UK and places like that. Learned behaviours is also around our languages, our language that we use. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. We are systematically going through every one of our policies. And we've got policies coming out of every creek and crevice of our organisation, particularly given that we are a children's charity, so there's lots of policies around child protection, child safety, things of that nature. And a lot of those policies are very negative. They're don't do this, you can't do that, shouldn't do this, things of that nature. We're systematically going through every policy and removing any negative language, replacing it with positive language, not watering down the intent of what it means, but we're taking it into the positive rather than the don't, you can't, and turning it and flipping it the other way. And the good thinking habits, learned behaviours, this has been a great one for us. Andrew. I only know Andrew because I met him just a moment ago, so this is not a plant or anything of that nature. Andrew, I'm going to ask you a question. Pretty easy question. I'm going to go ask you a question, I'm going to go through it, and then I'll point to you and ask you to give me the answer. Okay? So if I ask you, Mary's mother has 4 children, and their names are April, May, June, and July. It's actually Mary. So Mary's mother, the lady in the middle, has 4 children. The reason why I give you that example is because these are literally the fundamental mistakes that we make at work every day. And why do we do this? Because our brains are hardwired to do this. Our brains are absolutely lazy. Our brains weigh about 1.5 kilos. They sit up here in our skull, and they are hardwired. It is hardwired to be lazy. It loves taking shortcuts exactly like that. The shortcut there for Andrew, and hopefully most of you around the room, as you all sort of mentally said to yourself, July, your brain took that shortcut because your brain doesn't like to think. It will go into the easy option. And what we're about is teaching our people not to take that easy option, the mindfulness of being present right here, right now, to give it your 100% attention, to get that right answer that therefore doesn't allow mistakes to happen at work. And therefore, that costs us time, resources, productivity, efficiency, a whole lot of things. If I just quickly tell you, the brain has basically 3 components to it. The first part is called the lizard part, which sits at the back of, at the top of our spine, at the back of our skull here. The lizard part of the brain basically is really important. It looks after our breathing, our heart rate, functions like sleeping, waking up, things of that nature. Then sort of covering that is a thing called the mammalian, or sometimes it's called the cat brain. So when you cut it in half, it sort of looks like it's got cat whiskers inside it. That part of the brain looks after the 4 F's of our brain, which is fleeing, fighting, feeding, and the last F has something to do with reproducing. And then covering that is called the human brain. And the human brain has a number of cortexes in it. One cortex is for thinking, one cortex is for smelling, another one for sight, another one for hearing. But it's the thinking one that's really, really important. Science clearly shows that within the thinking part of the brain, that's where we store habits. And our brain loves habits. It doesn't care whether it's a good or a bad habit. It says, give me a habit, I will store it in there, and therefore that allows the rest of the brain to switch off and basically lie on the banana lounge beside the pool and not think. And that's why you get the things like that, July instead of Mary. But that part of the brain is crucial to our day-to-day life. Can you imagine if we didn't have that part of the brain? Could you imagine that if every day you had to learn how to tie your shoelaces up? Because that's just a good habit that you've got. A habit is something that when you get it and you do it a number of times over, it then gets stored in the back of your brain and you don't have to think about it. Imagine if you had to learn how to drive a car every day. It's now just a good habit that you have. You don't think about, I've got to get the car key, put it in the ignition, turn it, foot on the accelerator, brake, clutch, whatever. You don't think, you just do it. How often do you drive home and then when you get home and you think, oh, I didn't remember passing through those set of traffic lights or going through that corner or whatever. It's all because you've stored it as part of good habits. But as I said, the brain doesn't care whether they're good or bad. That's why things like changing things to do exercise or give up smoking are really hard. Because once you've got a habit in there, it's hard to change. And the research shows that you need at least 21 days of a certain behaviour to change from a habit, whether it's good or bad. So for us, we're not in control of the decisions that we think we like to make as much as we think we are. So we're about training our staff not to take shortcuts. So ensure that the decisions that we're making are really thoroughly thought through. And again, it's had huge benefits for us. The other part for us are symbols. Symbols are really important for human beings. Human beings love symbols. On any given day, the research shows that you will see somewhere between about 3,000 and 29,000 symbols in any given day. That's everything from when you wake up and you turn off your Philips alarm clock to you got your Pierre Cardin pyjamas on and you go and put your Sony toast in the toaster and you've got pulled out the Special K and all of that's just at breakfast. You've put your Colgate on your toothbrush and blah, blah, blah. You've got in the car and you've seen the McDonald's arches and then you've seen church crosses and so forth. Human beings love symbols. So we've created a number of symbols at work which again reinforce positive attitudes, reinforce well-being, reinforce being flowing and flourishing in your life. So we have photos of all of our staff. So remember, we used to have photos of our children who died. Now every one of our staff has a photo exactly like this one you see here, from the waist up, laughing or doing something funny. They're huge. They're blown up like this big, and they're stuck up on all the walls in our offices. So when you come to a Camp Quality office, you see lots of smiley, happy staff around the place. We changed our logo, so you might remember the hot air balloon signifying the lifting of a child's spirits up to heaven. We now have this logo of what we call giggle, a child's sort of face, laughing. Our tagline is now, laughter is the best medicine. We have business cards. How do you make a transaction a fun experience, given that literally everything that we do, because we're going to live our glue in every aspect, so therefore everything that we do must bring happiness or a smile or a better situation to where we are. So for us, I would introduce, if I was meeting Margot, I'd get my card, pull it out, I put my fingers through it, and I walk my card across to Margot, and I see that Margot smiles, and right at that moment I have made a difference in Margot's life. For that second I brought a smile to her. And that's the importance. How do you make a normal transaction of a business card an engaging one that people have a difference in their life? We have happy cards. Every one of you have got one of these on your chair. A little bit of cardboard that has a joke or an optimistic message on the back of it. In the reception area of our offices, we have happy cards. And everyone who comes to visit the organisation, they're asked to take a happy card. They pick it up, pop it in their pocket or their handbag, and away they go. Let me tell you how significant these have been for us. When we first started these, we've got couriers that come to our business, just like you guys. A courier would come to get a business, and our receptionist, whose name is Mia, said to the courier, "Would you like to take this card?" And the courier, this is a general sweeping statement here, but you know, most couriers are pretty gruff sort of people. Time is money, and they don't want to hang around talking. And he said, "Oh, what's this happy card? What does this mean?" And she said, "Please just take one." But he took one, and unbeknownst to us, that at some point he must have pulled it out, and whatever it was on the card, the joke or the optimistic message, resonated with him, because he got on his two-way and he told it to the rest of the drivers within his group. It was about 2-3 weeks later that we actually noticed a significant change. We actually all rang for a courier, and 3 turned up at the one time. They weren't turning up for the package, they were turning up to get the happy card, because they wanted to be the guy to be on the two-way to tell whatever it was on the card to the rest of the drivers. And then about 6 weeks after that, I got a call from the CEO of the company going, "What's this about happy cards?" And I explained what it was, and he said, "Well, whatever it is, it's made such an impact. That's all my drivers talk about." So they then donated their services to us as an organisation. All of that came from a square bit of cardboard. Ensuring, if we go back to the glue, everything, no excuses, everything that we do must make a difference and a touch point for people. And that's just another one that we do. We have graffiti boards in our offices. So in the reception area of our office, graffiti for us is just a mixture of goofy and graffiti put together. But when you, as a staff member or as a visitor, when you are leaving the organisation, we ask you to write a happy or a positive message on the board. It doesn't have to be about work, it can be about anything. People write, my sister's just had a baby and all is well. Or my son won their grand final on the weekend. Or I just got a major sponsor on board. Whatever. It opens up huge communications. Again, reinforces positive energy, positive affirmation. Really great things are happening all the time, every day. Every one of our offices, the wall is painted a different colour. Red, green, blue, yellow, orange, pink, everywhere. It's a bit psychedelic at times, but that's just the way it is. We have desk pads. All of these symbols are, again, reinforced. So everyone has a desk pad. Ours happen to have Magic Monday, Wacky Tuesday, Terrific Wednesday, etc., etc. Every day has a positive statement or a joke, and then underneath that you're given a task to do. So on Magic Mondays you need to make someone laugh. Doesn't have to be someone at work, it can be the person who made your coffee in the morning. Then you write down who it was and what the situation was. On Terrific Tuesday you actually have to identify one of your signature strengths that you used and how you used it. And then when we have a staff meeting, everyone rips off their desk pad, they bring it along, and someone will talk about all of the activities that they've done. Again, it reinforces strong symbols, positive behaviour, the right attitude, and it all goes back again to our glue. Like probably you guys, we have a symbol in the office, so whenever there's something of success, there's a symbol that hangs down from the ceiling and people get the drumstick and smash it. And you know, when you hear that sound, no matter where you are, you know something good has happened. And again, it makes you smile. For us, all of these things have had huge benefits. We absolutely understand what our cultural goals are. We have strong vision and attitudes and beliefs. We embrace the subcultures and celebrate those. And absolutely, our people are incredibly resilient. We've grown our staff from 30 to now 130, our volunteers to now over 2,500, and our families to now over 6,500. We've gone from bankruptcy to cash-wise raising about 16 million, plus we do about another 4 million pro bono, so we're about a $20 million organisation. Not bad for something that was going to close its doors and literally shut up shop. Every year, year upon year, we are growing. Even through the GFC, we were growing. And it's because of our culture. It's because of the attitude, it's because of the positive beliefs and the resilient behaviours that we have within our people. Along the way, we've been able to impact a number of other organisations. For those of you who follow rugby league, you may know of a side called the Canterbury Bulldogs. In 2008, they were absolutely a busted organisation. They had players up on rape charges from an incident in Coffs Harbour. They had broken the salary cap the year before, so they were going to finish stone motherless last. Didn't matter how many games they were going to win. And their number one player, Sonny Bill Williams, hopped on a plane and left without telling anyone. Flew over to UK or Europe or somewhere. Didn't even tell anyone he was leaving in the middle of the season. They came to us and said, we like your culture and we'd like to learn what you guys do. And in return, we'll give you $1 million worth of sponsorship on the front of our jerseys. Free, if we can learn how to act and behave like you guys. And we actually turned them away. We said no. Again, because their behaviours were not matching the behaviours that we have, the beliefs that we have. To his credit, the guy at the time was the CEO. He's just recently left. A guy called Todd Greenberg came back. And then we set up a commercial deal and we said, okay, we'll work with you if you allow us to run our programs, just like we do for our staff and our volunteers, for your players, for your staff members, for your coaching staff. And you pay us to do it, and we'll do that. And so we do. Now, since then, 2009, we've done that every year. The club have gone from where they were in 2008. Last year they made the grand final. This year they made the semis. They are the fastest growing club in terms of membership. They are the second fastest in merchandise sales, and they are the second fastest in crowd attendance. Their bottom line is improving because of the attitudes and the beliefs and the behaviours, the culture that they're creating. Along the way, we've been voted in the top 5 of Australia's most trusted charities, and also won the PricewaterhouseCoopers Transparency Award. Again, not a bad effort. As I mentioned, there's 700,000 charities out there. So in closing up, if we go back to the doctor that we started with, we're still the same organisation. We absolutely live our goals, and for us, our vital organs are looking really healthy and happy. But there's always going to be a non-believer somewhere in the room who'll go, oh yeah, that's all well and good, but you're a small little charity, not like us, you know, and that's all a bit of froth and bubble what you guys do, but I don't see how it'll work in our industry. Well, for those that are, let me say with my tongue firmly planted in my cheek, if we take the letters A through to Z and replace them with the numbers 1 through to 26, then all the knowledge you have as a business will only give you 96%. All the hard work you do will only give you 98%. But if you create good habits, That will lead to a fantastic culture and it will allow you to be an innovative business. So thank you very much.